the Football Park Convention Centre, Magarey Medal 1999. Your host, Stephen Trigg.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you and welcome to what is, of course, the very last Magarey Medal for 1999, and indeed the last of the century. Tonight, besides crowning at least one further Magarey medalist, we pay tribute to the champions of the past, and we pose the question, who is the best of the best? Well, let's get down to the contenders, and this surely has to be one of the most open fields in living memory.
The greatest players of the game have worn this medal. For the past 100 years, they have accepted the honour with pride. And tonight, for the last time this century, the honour comes again. Damian Squire, the dashing centreman from Sturt, is it coming his way? Danny Holm, the rugged heartman from Central District, has he earned it this year? Justin Cicolella, the skillful on-baller from the Eagles, is his skill enough? Tim Weatherald, the nuggety back pocket from Sturt, can he shine through? Richard Kelly, the courageous centreman from Glenelg, will courage see him wear the medal? David Brown, the inspirational skipper from Port Adelaide, can he inspire a win? Who will it be? Who will receive the honour for the last time this century?
Yes, who will it be indeed? Well, we'll know inside the hour, so I hope you can stay with us. For now, though, let's get straight into the count, and I'd like to introduce you to a couple of very familiar faces. They're the partners at the top of the SANFL. They've been together now for 15 years, side by side. They've presided over some very turbulent times, some times of change, but nonetheless, they've been very, very successful times as well. I'm talking about, of course, the big bosses of the SANFL. Would you please welcome the Chief Executive, Lee Wicker, and alongside him, the President, Mr. Max Bashir.
Thank you, Stephen. Your Excellency, Mr. Premier, Mr. Michael Wright, Mr. Lee Davis, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 1999 Magarey Medal count. Tonight we are delighted to welcome our patron, Sir Eric Neal and Lady Neal, who have joined us, and we thank them very much for making their time available to us. We also welcome our Premier, Mr. John Olsen, and his wife, Julie, and we thank them both for being here out of their busy schedule. Tonight, Mr. Michael Wright is with us with his wife, Meredith, and Michael is representing the Leader of the Opposition and is always welcome to these functions. Mr. Lee Davis is here representing the Minister of Sport, and Lee, we welcome you as well. Well, let's hope that we have an enjoyable evening tonight as we have in the past, and I hope that everyone here and also at home will enjoy the telecast. I'm obliged to remind you that players who've been found guilty of a breach of the laws of the game are not eligible to win the medal. I'll now proceed with the count. In round one, Norwood versus North Adelaide. North Adelaide, Chris Naish, 1 vote. Norwood, John Cunningham, 2 votes. North Adelaide, Scott Sutherland, 3 votes. South Adelaide versus Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide, Brian Lees, 1 vote. Port Adelaide, Stephen Carter, 2 votes. Port Adelaide, Darryl Poole, 3 votes. West Adelaide versus Sturt. Sturt, Thomas Waltham, 1 vote. West Adelaide, Paul King, 2 votes. West Adelaide, Matthew Broon, 3 votes. Glenelg versus Woodville West Torrens. Glenelg, Matthew Golding, 1 vote. Glenelg, Paul Rouvray, 2 votes. And Glenelg, Matthew Bode, 3 votes. In round 2, Port Adelaide versus Norwood. Port Adelaide, Tom Carr, 1 vote. Port Adelaide, Daniel Morgan, 2 votes. And Port Adelaide, Samuel Filippo, 3 votes. Woodville West Torrens versus West Adelaide. West Adelaide, Jamie Andriski, 1 vote. Woodville West Torrens, Kenneth McGregor, 2 votes. Woodville West Torrens, Gavin Colville, 3 votes. Central District versus South Adelaide. South Adelaide, Scott Webb, 1 vote. South Adelaide, Trent Mills, 2 votes. And South Adelaide, Simon Crawshay, 3 votes. Sturt versus North Adelaide. Sturt, Matthew Powell, 1 vote. Sturt, Dean Woosnam, 2 votes. And Sturt, Bruce Lennon, 3 votes. In round 3, Sturt versus South Adelaide. South Adelaide, Simon Crawshay, 1 vote. Sturt, Mervyn Cartignery, 2 votes. And South Adelaide, Dean Talbot, 3 votes. North Adelaide versus Central District. Central District, Tim Cook, 1 vote. Central District, Nathan Steinburner, 2 votes. And Central District, Rick McGowan, 3 votes. Port Adelaide versus Glenelg. Glenelg, Nick Chigwidden, 1 vote. Port Adelaide, Stephen Carter, 2 votes. And Port Adelaide, Darryl Poole, 3 votes. In round 4, Glenelg versus Sturt. Sturt, Seamus Maloney, 1 vote. Sturt, Stephen White, 2 votes. And Sturt, Tim Wetherald, 3 votes. Central District versus Norwood. Central District, Nathan Steinburner, 1 vote. Norwood, Adam Crouch, 2 votes. And Norwood, Robert Neal, 3 votes. West Adelaide versus North Adelaide. West Adelaide, Matthew Connell, 1 vote. West Adelaide, Timothy Symes, 2 votes. And West Adelaide, Robert DeRosa, 3 votes. South Adelaide versus Woodville West Torrens. Woodville West Torrens, Andrew Rogers, 1 vote. South Adelaide, Simon Crawshay, 2 votes. And Woodville West Torrens, Justin Cicolella, 3 votes. That completes round 4.
Yes, Sujai Cook there near the end, going into outer space and taking what some would consider the best mark they've ever seen. At least that's the call from some of the radio commentators on the weekend. Now, earlier this evening, the McCullum Medal was presented, and the McCullum Medal is for the fairest and most brilliant player at under 17 level. This year, it's been won by a red leg. His name is Sam Breslau. Congratulations, Sam. Sam's the captain of the club. He's also the captain of the state under 16s, and he doubled the next player in terms of the vote getting. Well, as I said, during the night, we're going to pose the question of just who is the best of the best over the last 100 years. But before you get to that conclusion, you probably need to ask yourself a few questions.
What sort of player is he? This greatest player of the century. Would you look for the player who can win a game off his own boot? Is that what he is? Is he the player who inspires his teammates by laying his body on the line again and again? Is he that courageous? And how is he measured? By the medals he won? By the accolades he received during his playing days? How would you measure him?
We've argued in bars, we've argued at our barbecues, we've argued in the outer. Who is the greatest player of the century? And I suppose the best place to start is the Magarey medal. And there's one bloke there that has won 4 of them.
On towards even, here's the chance, Northworthy's after him, looking this season for his 3rd Magarey medal.
You win one, sometimes you tend to believe there's a certain element of luck that goes with it. But you win 2, 3 or 4, it's a bit more than luck, isn't it?
At the end of the day, it was the best and fairest competition to win a Magarey medal, and Russell Ebert was the best and fairest.
He was superbly built, superbly fit. He had great talent, and he was just an out-and-out champion, a truly great champion.
Port Adelaide into attack, they need a goal, over to Ebert, he puts one hand out, he's over it now, running in there, he's kicked it himself!
I think he was just a marvellous centreman because he was tireless. He just kept running and running all day at the same pace from the start of the game to the end of the game.
They tried to tag him out. They did in the early days. He became a key focal. They tried to tag him out, etc. And he would have copped a bit more than normal these times. But he was a tough, hard unit.
If you talk to Russell Ebert about any sort of individual accolades, he'll always say, give me the premierships and I'll swap you the Magarey medal.
He's the only player that's ever won 4 Magarey medals. He'll hold that feat on his own, I think, for immortality.
Ebert is an obvious candidate for Player of the Century, but there are others who challenge him for the title.
Robert has hit the grandstand roof as he marks.
The greatest player of the century. Well, I know who I'd put my money on. Now, Mark Naylor, you're a betting man. Who would you put your money on to win the 1999 Magarey medal?
Well, David, the experts are telling me that the young double blue centreman in Squire is the hot favourite at the moment. He opens up at evens, followed very closely by one of his teammates in Wetherall. He's listed at 4 to 1, followed by a couple of Eagles in Justin Cicolella and also Adam Pearce, both at 45 to 10.
Damian Arnold is 7 to 1. Brett Biglands is 12 to 1. Rick McGowan from Central District is 12 to 1. But at 12 to 1 also is my dark horse for the Magarey medal, Glenelg's Richard Kelly.
Richard Kelly moved to Glenelg after recovering from 2 knee reconstructions. A courageous centreman, he's played a key role in the Tigers' surge up the league ladder this year and is sure to poll well tonight.
Well, he's got some convincing to do if he's going to take it out this year, because 6 votes was Richard's best crack at it way back in 1993. So hopefully tonight he'll go at least 1 step better. Let's find out how he goes in the next few rounds. Back to the count, rounds 5 to 8.
In round 5, Woodville West Torrens versus Central District. Woodville West Torrens, Stephen Hall, 1 vote. Woodville West Torrens, Jason Dillon, 2 votes. Woodville West Torrens, Justin Cicolella, 3 votes. Norwood versus West Adelaide. West Adelaide, Matthew Toomey, 1 vote. Norwood, Robert Neal, 2 votes. And Norwood, Anthony Harvey, 3 votes. Glenelg versus North Adelaide. Glenelg, James Byrne, 1 vote. Glenelg, Paul Rouvray, 2 votes. And Glenelg, Chad Corns, 3 votes. Port Adelaide versus Sturt. Port Adelaide, Daniel Morgan, 1 vote. Sturt, Tim Wetherall, 2 votes. And Port Adelaide, David Brown, 3 votes. In round 6, Norwood versus South Adelaide. Norwood, Christian O'Brien, 1 vote. Norwood, Adam Crouch, 2 votes. And Norwood, John Cunningham, 3 votes. Woodville West Torrens versus Sturt. Sturt, Matthew Powell, 1 vote. Woodville West Torrens, Matthew Pavlik, 2 votes. Woodville West Torrens, Rhett Biglands, 3 votes. Central District versus Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide, Simon Pedler, 1 vote. Port Adelaide, Daniel Morgan, 2 votes. And Port Adelaide, Tom Carr, 3 votes. West Adelaide versus Glenelg. Glenelg, Paul Rouvray, 1 vote. Glenelg, Matthew Liptak, 2 votes. And Glenelg, Nick Chigwidden, 3 votes. In round 7, Port Adelaide versus Woodville West Torrens. Port Adelaide, Matthew Ashley, 1 vote. Port Adelaide, Damian Brown, 2 votes. And Port Adelaide, Julian Waite, 3 votes. West Adelaide versus Central District. Central District, Rick McGowan, 1 vote. West Adelaide, John Parker, 2 votes. Central District, Daniel Holm, 3 votes. Glenelg versus Norwood. Glenelg, Brett Higgins, 1 vote. Glenelg, Richard Kelly, 2 votes. And Glenelg, James Byrne, 3 votes. North Adelaide versus South Adelaide. North Adelaide, Chris Naish, 1 vote. North Adelaide, Troy Lehman, 2 votes. And North Adelaide, Daniel Morton, 3 votes. In round 8, Woodville West Torrens versus North Adelaide. North Adelaide, Benjamin Setchell, 1 vote. Woodville West Torrens, Justin Cicolella, 2 votes. Woodville West Torrens, Jason Dillon, 3 votes. West Adelaide versus Port Adelaide. West Adelaide, Tim Symes, 1 vote. West Adelaide, David Burns, 2 votes. And Port Adelaide, Stephen Carter, 3 votes. Glenelg versus South Adelaide. Glenelg, Michael Radis, 1 vote. Glenelg, Simon Hill, 2 votes. And Glenelg, Richard Kelly, 3 votes. Sturt versus Central District. Central District, Rick McGowan, 1 vote. Central District, Scott Lee, 2 votes. Central District, Damian Arnold, 3 votes. And that concludes round 8.
Yes, the sweetest thing indeed if you're playing in the under-19s competition, besides winning premierships, would be to win the Tompkins Medal, which is awarded each and every year to the best and fairest player in that competition. This year, the player good enough to do it was the Eagles' Greg Chapman. Congratulations to Greg. He's done very, very well. He polled 21 votes to win it by 5, and he's obviously a player of the future. Well, let's have a look at the leaders board so far. We go back to David, and alongside him is the 1987 Jack Odie medalist, the very tall and the very handsomely tuxedoed Michael Parsons.
Welcome, Michael. It's great to be standing here in a room with great Magarey medalists all around us.
It's always a fantastic evening, the Magarey medal, and I'm sure the winner tonight will be very proud to have their name alongside some of the legends that we've seen tonight.
As we go to the leaderboard, Justin Cicolella on 8 from the Eagles, polling very well, one of the early favourites. Carter ineligible, and Crawshay from South Adelaide doing very well.
Another ineligible player that's polled a few votes so far in Dale Poole from Port Adelaide. Another Port Adelaide player in Daniel Morgan has had a great year. Timmy Weatherald, he's been picked as one of the favourites, and we're looking forward to seeing how he goes the rest of the evening. And Ricky McGowan, the hard-at-it rover from Central Districts.
Well, maybe one player amongst that group will join the all-time greats. But who do you reckon was the greatest of them all?
Barry Robram, the poise, the skill, the ability to leap above the pack and take down the mark. Sensational.
He was the greatest player in full flight I've ever seen. He was equal to anyone. I can't name a better player.
He was one of those special guys that come along every now and again. Just sheer magic. And his inspiration to his teammates and the way he played the game. He worked himself so hard. And he was so fit. And at 6'4", he could outrow Rovers. He was a cheat. He was too damn good.
And if he didn't give you the ball ace out, he was upset. He reckons that's the way the ball should have arrived, because that's what he wanted.
Whenever I'm asked who's the best player that I've seen, Barry Robran is the name that I readily come to mind. He was just a complete player.
And unfortunately we saw Barry cut down while still in his prime with that dreadful knee injury.
I was the man actually that passed the ball to Barry when Lee Matthews and his crew sort of ran into him. If it would have been a big lopey kick or a big high bomb, it might never have happened. But I remember the kick went straight to his chest, but Lee and the boys had already made up their mind, and it was just a disaster, and it's lived with me forever.
Get some nice poetry, get some beautiful music, and just sit back and watch this guy, because that's what he was poetry in motion.
Barry Robran, one of only 6 blokes to have won 3 Magarey medals. Len Fitzgerald, he won in 52, 54, 59, and each medal was won playing in different positions on the ground.
He was one out of the box, really. Len wasn't a smooth footballer like Lindsay Head or Barry Robran or Russell Ebert. He didn't look quite the part because I think it was his build, and he was a bustling type of player. He could do things that nobody else could do too.
He was just a phenomenal player. He could play just about any position you imagined, and he had the skills to go with every one of them. Some people would say that he was before his time with his handball skills, for example. He was a great player, one of the very best.
Dan Moriarty, 3 years in a row, 1919, 1920, 1921. He is remembered as a superb centre-half back who never gave his opponents a look in. Walter Scott, Tom McKenzie, 3-time winners, champions of their eras. But there's one bloke you can't forget, a triple winner who could well be the greatest player South Australia has ever produced.
Well, to use a Malcolm Blight analogy, if you win 3 of those sorts of things, maybe it's a miracle. Now, Russell Ebert just sitting down in front of me, I'm not too sure what that means if you win 4, perhaps, as Jeff Motley suggested. It just means it's out of this world and it may never, ever be repeated. A player who'd like to just get 1, fingers crossed for tonight, is the Double Blues' Tim Wetherold.
Tim Wetherold graduated from the back pocket to an on-ball role for Sturt this year. He's tough, determined, tenacious and consistently wins the hard ball. He's sure to attract plenty of votes.
Trained at the Cremorne Hotel, perhaps. Trained at with the Crows and with the AFL club Port Power prior to the season. And fingers crossed tonight. There's a few naughty boys in the audience if you haven't picked that up already. Let's go back to the next 5 rounds. Max, it's all yours, rounds 9 to 13.
In round 9, Port Adelaide versus North Adelaide. North Adelaide, Brendan Parker, 1 vote. North Adelaide, Daniel Morton, 2 votes. Port Adelaide, Michael Spanagle, 3 votes. South Adelaide versus West Adelaide. South Adelaide, Shane Ellen, 1 vote. West Adelaide, Matthew Broom, 2 votes. And West Adelaide, Gregory Dempsey, 3 votes. Central District versus Glenelg. Glenelg, James Byrne, 1 vote. Central District, Daniel Holm, 2 votes. And Central District, Damian Arnold, 3 votes. Norwood versus Sturt. Norwood, Anthony Harvey, 1 vote. Norwood, Eugene Warrior 2 votes, and Norwood Lachlan Bowman 3 votes. In round 10, Port Adelaide versus South Adelaide, Port Adelaide, Tom Carr 1 vote, Port Adelaide, Stephen Carter 2 votes, and South Adelaide, Philip Merton 3 votes. North Adelaide versus Norwood, Norwood, Nathan Bassett 1 vote, Norwood, Robert Neal 2 votes, and Norwood, Adam Crouch 3 votes. Sturt versus West Adelaide, West Adelaide, Adam Richardson 1 vote, Sturt, Matthew Powell 2 votes, and Sturt, Damian Squire 3 votes. Glenelg versus Woodville West Torrens, Glenelg, Richard Kelly 1 vote, Woodville West Torrens, Christopher Kluzak 2 votes, Woodville West Torrens, Gavin Colville 3 votes. In round 11, Central District versus South Adelaide, Central District, Marco Bello 1 vote, Central District, Daniel Holm 2 votes, Central District, Rick McGowan 3 votes. West Adelaide versus Woodville West Torrens, Woodville West Torrens, Rhett Biglands 1 vote, Woodville West Torrens, Matthew Pavlik 2 votes, and Woodville West Torrens, Gavin Colville 3 votes. North Adelaide versus Sturt, North Adelaide, Raymond Ebel 1 vote, Sturt, Jared Twitt 2 votes, Sturt, Damian Squire 3 votes. Port Adelaide versus Norwood, Norwood, Damien Obst 1 vote, Norwood, Ian Downsborough 2 votes, and Norwood, John Cunningham 3 votes. In round 12, North Adelaide versus West Adelaide, North Adelaide, Benjamin Setchell 1 vote, West Adelaide, Dean Howard 2 votes, and West Adelaide, Robert DeRosa 3 votes. Glenelg versus Sturt, Glenelg, Brooke Bogdan 1 vote, Sturt, Matthew Powell 2 votes, and Sturt, Damian Squire 3 votes. Central District versus Norwood, Norwood, Jason March 1 vote, Norwood, Stuart Bone 2 votes, and Norwood, Damien Obst 3 votes. Woodville West Torrens versus South Adelaide, Woodville West Torrens, Jason Dillon 1 vote, Woodville West Torrens, Rhett Biglands 2 votes, and Woodville West Torrens, Justin Cicolella 3 votes. In round 13, Norwood versus Woodville West Torrens, Woodville West Torrens, John McCarthy 1 vote, Norwood, Roger James 2 votes, and Norwood, John Cunningham 3 votes. South Adelaide versus Sturt, Sturt, Julian Burton 1 vote, Sturt, Tim Wetherell 2 votes, and Sturt, Damian Squire 3 votes. Central District versus North Adelaide, Central District, Michael Stevens 1 vote, Central District, David Lillico 2 votes, and North Adelaide, Jay Viney 3 votes. Port Adelaide versus Glenelg, Port Adelaide, Damien Sheehan 1 vote, Port Adelaide, Andrew Obst 2 votes, and Port Adelaide, David Brown 3 votes, and that completes round 13.
Well, plenty of dodging and weaving there, and there was plenty of that throughout season 1999 for a particular player from West Adelaide. He won the Reserves Magarey medal and his name is Robbie Lee. Congratulations, Robbie. From the Bloods, had a terrific season, missed quite a number of games with injury, but was still good enough to win it by 3 votes. Now, speaking of injury, one player in the past who was lucky enough not to miss too many games because he still went on to be one of the great champions of all times.
Lindsay Head, the artful dodger, triple Magarey medalist, his ball control, his outstanding kicking abilities, his evasive skills. He was a crowd puller in his own right.
He had eyes all around his head. He could see, he knew where players were. I tried to get him many a time. He was too clever.
And he knew when someone was going to line him up, and usually he'd move to one side, show them the ball, and then run round them and make them look like a fool.
He could read the play so well that he would be out just on the fringes, or he'd put himself in a position to take the ball because he could read where it was going to go.
In those days, you could throw the ball out in front of you, as you know, and you weren't deemed still in possession, and he was clever at doing that to get around players, and that's where the artful dodger came in.
Some people tend to play Lindsay down as a champion because he wasn't an aggressive player. He didn't need to be. He could get the ball and always do something with it.
I know Lindsay wasn't a soft player. A lot of people, because of his brilliance and his awareness, he could sidestep and people say, well, why don't you go and crash him? But you didn't have to.
Given the same training frequencies that they have now and the same work ethic that they have available now, Lindsay Head would have been just as great now as he was then.
Lindsay Head played 327 league games, a record at the time. But records are made to be broken. When Paul Bagshaw broke Head's games record in 1979, the congratulations came from all over the country.
He was just such a brilliant player. He was a very clever player. His high marking and his long kicking, his drop kicking was just a feature. In his time, he was just a complete footballer.
He did things with ease, almost with, I guess, such timing that most people thought he was going half pace, almost in the Darren Jarman mould, if you like.
He just seemed to have so much time to do things. Now, maybe that's the ability to read the game better than others, to be in the best position quicker and earlier than others, but he always had, or appeared to have, time to do things.
Paul was such a strong player and had a note of aggression about him when the occasion needed it. And if they didn't get a good grip on him, they had no way of holding him. Very, very strong player physically, as well as a very talented player.
Paul was just such a complete champion, and it was such a complete and champion team, and he was such a team man that the other players just took votes from him.
He actually starred amongst other talent, and he brought those players into the game a little more, and at the same time, played a complete team game.
There is another legend who never won the medal, a man who is easily considered as one of this state's greatest players.
Yes, and who is that player? Well, all will be revealed very soon, so stay with us. For now, though, we're going to check the voting club by club to the end of round 13, and David's joined by the diminutive and sometimes argumentative 91 Magarey medalist, Mark Nailey.
A little more than sometimes, I might say, Stephen, if you don't mind. We've got no arguments, though, over the leaderboard tonight, Mark, as we go to Central District. And Rick McGowan leads from Danny Holm. 2 great champions, polling pretty well.
Yes, for the Eagles, David, we see that out on top for their side.
Cicolella leads for the Eagles from Colville.
Followed by Colville, and Dylan on 6, and Biglands on 6 as well.
And at Glenelg, Richard Kelly polling well. Rouvray polling very well, was injured late in the season, and James Byrne also injured late in the year.
And for the Roosters, we see Danny Morton on top there with 5, followed by Jay Viney on 3.
Now, Norwood are interesting, aren't they, when you look through their leaderboard, and have a look at Cunningham, who also suffered injury throughout the year, but is polling particularly well.
And also see there with Crouch as well, pretty close behind on 7. But for the Magpies, you see Stephen Carter and also Darryl Poole there on 9 and 6 respectively, followed by the captain and David Brown on 6 as well.
Can he get up with some more votes? At South Adelaide, Crawshay, who polled very well last year from Talbot.
And the double blues, we see the leader at the moment there, Damian Squire on 12, and Tim Weatherall on 7.
At West Adelaide, we thought DeRosa would poll well. We thought that Broome would poll well. Their late season form was particularly good. But with Squire leading the leaders and Justin Cicolella coming second, could it be that Justin Cicolella could join the champions?
Justin Cicolella has flourished as an Eagles on-baller under coach Mark Micken. He's a skillful player, covers plenty of ground and uses his lightning-quick speed to great advantage and to catch the umpire's eye.
When I grow up, I'll be stable. When I grow up, I'll turn the table.
He played 19 games throughout the year, Justin Cicolella, so he's going to be right in the hunt, you'd imagine. Now let's put all of that club-by-club analysis together and look at the overall leaders board after 13 rounds. From the bottom up, it looks like this. Crouch from Norwood on 7. Ricky McGowan always polls pretty well from Central District on 8. 9 to Colville. Stephen Carter's ineligible. John Cunningham has 11. As we saw, Justin Cicolella has 11 as well. And Damian Squire, well, he's shot to the lead. The big question now is, can he stay there? Let's find out by going back to the count. And here's Max.
In round 14, Sturt versus Port Adelaide. Sturt, Stephen White, 1 vote. Port Adelaide, Stephen Carter, 2 votes. Port Adelaide, Jared Polton, 3 votes. Central District versus Woodville West Torrens. Central District, Jared Schofield, 1 vote. Woodville West Torrens, Gavin Colville, 2 votes. Woodville West Torrens, Andrew Rogers, 3 votes. Glenelg versus West Adelaide. West Adelaide, Edward Richardson, 1 vote. West Adelaide, Dion Miles, 2 votes. And West Adelaide, Matthew Toomey, 3 votes. Norwood versus South Adelaide. Norwood, James Gallagher, 1 vote. Norwood, Damien Obst, 2 votes. Norwood, Anthony Harvey, 3 votes. Sturt versus Norwood. Sturt, Tim Weatherall, 1 vote. Norwood, John Cunningham, 2 votes. And Sturt, Brodie Atkinson, 3 votes. Port Adelaide versus Central District. Central District, Jared Schofield, 1 vote. Central District, Paul Geester, 2 votes. And Central District, Michael Stevens, 3 votes. West Adelaide versus South Adelaide. West Adelaide, Adam Richardson, 1 vote. West Adelaide, Chris Barrett, 2 votes. And West Adelaide, Greg Mellor, 3 votes. North Adelaide versus Glenelg. Glenelg, Michael Radis, 1 vote. Glenelg, Sue J. Cook, 2 votes. And Glenelg, Matthew Golding, 3 votes. In round 16, Norwood versus Glenelg. Glenelg, Nick Chigwidden, 1 vote. Norwood, James Tyson, 2 votes. And Glenelg, Brooke Fogden, 3 votes. Woodville West Torrens versus Port Adelaide. Woodville West Torrens, Nicholas Pesh, 1 vote. Woodville West Torrens, Adam Ugrenick, 2 votes. And Woodville West Torrens, Rhett Biglands, 3 votes. Central District versus West Adelaide. West Adelaide, Timothy Symes, 1 vote. West Adelaide, Greg Mellor, 2 votes. And West Adelaide, Gregory Dempsey, 3 votes. South Adelaide versus North Adelaide. South Adelaide, Shane Ellen, 1 vote. South Adelaide, Simon Crawshay, 2 votes. And South Adelaide, Andrew Osborne, 3 votes. In round 17, Norwood versus North Adelaide. Norwood, Anthony Harvey, 1 vote. Norwood, James Tyson, 2 votes. And North Adelaide, Chris Naish, 3 votes. Sturt versus Woodville West Torrens. Sturt, Stephen White, 1 vote. Sturt, Chris Threadgold, 2 votes. And Sturt, Damian Squire, 3 votes. Port Adelaide versus West Adelaide. Port Adelaide, Andrew Obst, 1 vote. Port Adelaide, Mark Clayson, 2 votes. And Port Adelaide, Aaron Fiora, 3 votes. Glenelg versus Central District. Glenelg, Nick Chigwidden, 1 vote. Glenelg, Matthew Golding, 2 votes. And Glenelg, Richard Kelly, 3 votes. In round 18, Woodville West Torrens versus West Adelaide. Woodville West Torrens, John Floriani, 1 vote. West Adelaide, Dean Howard, 2 votes. And Woodville West Torrens, Rhett Biglands, 3 votes. North Adelaide versus Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide, Philip McGuinness, 1 vote. Port Adelaide, Aaron Fiora, 2 votes. And Port Adelaide, Jared Polton, 3 votes. Central District versus Sturt. Sturt, Julian Burton, 1 vote. Central District, Brenton Daniel, 2 votes. And Sturt, Damian Squire, 3 votes. South Adelaide versus Glenelg. Glenelg, Richard Kelly, 1 vote. Glenelg, Chad Corns, 2 votes. And Glenelg, Nick Chigwidden, 3 votes. And that completes round 18.
Bumps and the blocks and the shepherds, those so-called 1%ers, the little things in footy, the things that the coaches love. Well, I'll tell you another thing they love as well if you're a player, is they like you to kick goals. And the Ken Farmer Medal is awarded every year to the player who kicks the most goals in the minor round. And for the second successive year, it's a great effort. It's been won by West Adelaide's Adam Richardson. Congratulations to Adam. And to present the medal is 1950 medalist. That's Magarey medalist Ian Mackay. 66 goals this year to Adam. As I said, tremendous effort. Second successive year. And the Bloods just outside the race for the finals. Well, we've been talking about that greatest player of all times. Just maybe it was a goal kicker.
They talk about Gordon Coventry's record. They talk about Lockett. But this bloke outkicked them all.
Ken Farmer, what a legend. Yeah, I remember watching him as a schoolboy, and in fact, out at the Prospect Day, we were playing West Torrens. He kicked 23 goals that day.
He used to kick them from any area on the ground that was in distance. The odds of him missing were 99% against.
He was a good kick. They didn't have the drop punts in those days. It was more or less the screw punts or the flat punt, and he was good from any angle.
For a guy to kick 100 goals for the amount of years in a row that he did back when they were playing 17 to 18 games a season, there's got to be some hidden agenda as to why he didn't immediately get into the Hall of Fame.
Another bloke who was prodigious up forward was Malcolm Blight.
You know, you tend to remember him for his marking capacity and his ability to fall to the ground cat-like and maintain his feet, grab hold of the ball and wheel around on great big arcs on his left and right and have a shot at goal.
Right through the middle. I think he also had very good balance for somebody who's probably 6'2", and could also play very well on the ground.
Woodville player Blight.
Blight won Woodville's only Magarey medal. The celebrations went long into the night. It was 1972. The dawning of an era that would see player after player cross the border to the VFL.
A group of players like Kernahan, Bradley, Flatton in those times take them out of our competition. The competition is missing a lot.
They were in such a good era that they would have been sharing the medals around with the Johnny Plattons and the Mark Nailies, and all these guys would have been winning medals in and amongst each other. and I don't think any one player would have dominated the actual SNFL Magarey medal as did a Barry Robin or a Russell Even.
The amount of time you can spend developing the player, I think, is quite limited, and as a consequence, I think the volume of that sort of talent is going to be very, very limited in the future.
Sometimes the hardest stars to see are the ones in our own time.
Gary McIntosh, he won 2 Magarey medals, and the third one he was rubbed out, so he couldn't win that one, unfortunately. At times, Gary wanted to point the umpires in the right direction, and I think that probably went against him a couple of votes wise.
Socks down, big goatee beard, hair all over his head. Just when I first saw him, I thought, oh, this bloke's got no chance. And he just kept on getting the ball.
It wasn't the same if he wasn't playing, because it didn't feel like you actually had a victory. Beat Nord and beat him with Gary McIntosh playing, and you've achieved something.
He loved the Nord Football Club, loved the guys, whoever was coaching, whoever was playing, you know, he gave 100%.
For every name that is mentioned, another will come to mind. Hank, Phillips, Quinn, McGregor. This state has seen so many fine players, but the greatest player? They'll still be arguing that one well into the next century.
Yes, I'm sure the debate will go on, and so it should. It's one of the greatest things about our game of Australian rules football here in South Australia. Well, let's do a quick stock take now before the last 5 rounds and just see where we're up to on that leaders board. At the bottom end, it's Justin Cicolella, 11. So too Stephen Carter and Gavin Colville. Haven't they taken some votes from each other, the Eagles? Rhett Biglands is up there with 12. They're going to score heavily, the Eagles, but I don't think they're going to get up. John Cunningham's on 13. And right up the top there, I think I'm right in saying that Damian Squire didn't score a vote until round 10, and he has shot through very, very quickly. Can he stay there? Hard to see anybody catching him, isn't it? Let's go back to the count for the last 5 rounds.
In round 19, Port Adelaide versus South Adelaide. South Adelaide, Andrew Osborne, 1 vote. Port Adelaide, Stephen Carter, 2 votes. And Port Adelaide, David Brown, 3 votes. Woodville West Torrens versus Glenelg. Woodville West Torrens, Justin Cicolella, 1 vote. Glenelg, Richard Kelly, 2 votes. Glenelg, Nick Chigwidden, 3 votes. West Adelaide versus Norwood. West Adelaide, Anthony Bannock, 1 vote. West Adelaide, Matthew Broon, 2 votes. And Norwood, Roger James, 3 votes. North Adelaide versus Sturt. Sturt, Mark Soderstrom, 1 vote. Sturt, Stephen White, 2 votes. North Adelaide, Scott Leal, 3 votes. 20, Norwood versus Port Adelaide. Norwood, Eugene Warrior, 1 vote. Port Adelaide, Aaron Fiora, 2 votes. Port Adelaide, Damian Brown, 3 votes. South Adelaide versus Central District. Central District, Mark Damasi, 1 vote. Central District, Marco Bello, 2 votes. Central District, Daniel Holm, 3 votes. North Adelaide versus Woodville West Torrens. Woodville West Torrens, Andrew Rogers, 1 vote. Woodville West Torrens, Jason Dillon, 2 votes. And North Adelaide, Lucas Herbert, 3 votes. West Adelaide versus Sturt. Sturt, Mark Patura, 1 vote. Sturt, Seamus Maloney, 2 votes. And Sturt, Damian Squire, 3 votes. In round 21, Woodville West Torrens versus Norwood. Norwood, Stephen Pitt, 1 vote. Woodville West Torrens, Matthew Kluzek, 2 votes. Woodville West Torrens, Rhett Biglands, 3 votes. Central District versus North Adelaide. North Adelaide, Daniel Morton, 1 vote. Central District, Bowen Lockwood, 2 votes. And Central District, Marco Bello, 3 votes. Glenelg versus Port Adelaide. Glenelg, Alistair Burke, 1 vote. Glenelg, Richard Kelly, 2 votes. And Glenelg, Nick Chigwidden, 3 votes. In round 22, Sturt versus Glenelg. Sturt, Dean Woosnam, 1 vote. Sturt, Brodie Atkinson, 2 votes. And Sturt, Mark Soderstrom, 3 votes. Norwood versus Central District. Central District, Nathan Steinburner, 1 vote. Central District, Rick McGowan, 2 votes. And Central District, Marco Bello, 3 votes. North Adelaide versus West Adelaide. West Adelaide, Chris Barrett, 1 vote. West Adelaide, Adam Richardson, 2 votes. And West Adelaide, Matthew Broom, 3 votes. South Adelaide versus Woodville West Torrens. Woodville West Torrens, Justin Cicolella, 1 vote. South Adelaide, Trent Mills, 2 votes. And South Adelaide, Michael Doughty, 3 votes. In round 23, Woodville West Torrens versus Central District. Woodville West Torrens, John Floriani, 1 vote. Woodville West Torrens, Justin Cicolella, 2 votes. And Woodville West Torrens, Jason Dillon, 3 votes. Port Adelaide versus Sturt. Port Adelaide, Damian Brown, 1 vote. Port Adelaide, David Brown, 2 votes. And Sturt, Matthew Powell, 3 votes. West Adelaide versus Glenelg. Glenelg, Nick Chigwidden, 1 vote. West Adelaide, Christopher Chubb, 2 votes. And Glenelg, Brett Higgins, 3 votes. South Adelaide versus Norwood. Norwood, Eugene Warrior, 1 vote. South Adelaide, Ian Perry, 2 votes. And Norwood, Andrew Pascoe, 3 votes, and that completes the counting. Ladies and gentlemen, I have much pleasure in declaring Damian Squire the 1999 Magarey medalist.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please keep that ovation going? As a very, very fine footballer. We've been looking at champions all night. Another one now comes forth.
Damian, on behalf of everyone here, and indeed on behalf of all football followers, we congratulate you on winning the 1999 Magarey medal. You've had a marvellous year playing centre for Sturt, and I'm told that last year you didn't get a vote in the Magarey medal, so you've really achieved something this year. But when all of the scribes and all of the experts tipped you to win, the win is certainly no surprise to anyone. So congratulations and well done.
Now there's an added bonus besides the jewellery as well, as good as it looks. There's also a cheque for $10,000, and I'd welcome forward Graham Coverdale from GMH, the State Manager, who'll make the presentation.
Thank you, Stephen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to be here representing Holden again tonight. It's our 4th year that we've been involved with the Magarey medal, and I'd just like to add our congratulations to Damian on his fine win and presenting with this cheque, as Stephen indicated. Damian, congratulations.
Now, before I let you loose on the microphones, we might just have a quick chat. A baby last week and a Magarey medal this week. I'm not sure you get any bigger weeks.
Yeah, I'm not sure really what tops what, but it's been an extraordinary week for myself, and this is just a great accomplishment. I'm just so happy.
I said at the start that it was one of the most open fields, and I think people generally believe that, but they did install you as a favourite, and in the end it was a very wise move. Your own expectations, though, what did you think, being the favourite?
I didn't really look into it too much. I mean, you know, over the past and the future shows that the favourites don't normally get up to win. So, I mean, I just come here to have a good time with the guys and just to see how I went.
Well, you went well. What about, would it be right that you didn't score until round 10 and then you took off? Was that about the time that Phil moved you into the middle of the ground, in and around the footy?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was about round 8 that I went in, so it was a good move by Phil, I think.
You're a genius, Carmen. What about also the move from North Adelaide? Now, there's obviously some pretty goodwill amongst the clubs because right here in my eye line for all of the night, there's been some pretty boisterous lads who are pretty keen for you to win as well. So, good support, but the move must have been a good one for you.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've built up a lot of great friendships at North Adelaide, and they'll last forever. And I mean, the move was just solely upon myself. I just wanted to go and just experience something different in a different environment, and I'm just pretty happy I did that. Trigger.
Well, why don't you just take a deep breath? I'm sure you've got some people you'd like to thank. The floor's yours.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd probably like to thank parents first up. I mean, they've been a great support over, the 20 years that I've been playing football. And, there's probably little Keely as well, who was born last week. She's just a magnificent little girl. And Darlene, his girlfriend. Probably Mark Soderstrom, because he's been taking me to training because I've had a problem with my licence lately. So that's about it. I can't think of too many more.
That's all right. You get another chance in a moment. There is always a runner-up in these sorts of counts. It's a difficult position to be in. Nick Chigwidden has been a great player over a long time with Glenelg, so commiserations to you, Chiggy. And to tidy up and just give us an update of where we're at with all of the votes, here's David.
Thanks very much, Stephen. Great to see the Bulldogs polling very well as we go through the leaders. Damian Squire, the winner, with 21 votes. Nick Chigwidden with 16 second. Rhett Biglands polling very well, and Justin Cicolella with 15, tied on third.
Richard Kelly, one of our favourites early. John Cunningham, unfortunately those injuries kept him down in the count at the end of the year.
As we go club by club now, Central District. First, Daniel Holm with 10, and Rick McGowan tied on 10, polling very well. Marco Bello, the new recruit, with 9.
The Eagles, they had a fantastic year. They're still in the hunt for a big one. Cicolella, Biglands and Colville and Dillon all polled exceptionally well.
At Glenelg, 2 of the favourites. Nick Chigwidden on 16 and Kelly, 14, polling particularly well.
North Adelaide, disappointing year on the field, but Danny Morton and Chris Nash polled reasonably well.
At Norwood, Cunningham with 13 and Harvey with 8.
And Port Adelaide, unfortunately Stephen Carter has got that star against his name, but David Brown and a great entry into league football for Adam Fiora.
At South Adelaide, Simon Crawshay, who polled so wonderfully well last year, was the leader with 8.
And Sturt, there he is up the top, all smiles, and we'll hear from him again. Damian Squire, Matty Power, Tim Weatherald and Stephen White.
And at West Adelaide we expected, didn't we, Matty Broon to poll well? He did. Dempsey and DeRosa also doing well in the polls. As we go back to Stephen Trigg.
Thank you, David. One important function to go, and that, of course, is the toast to the 99 Magarey medalist, Max.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please be outstanding while we toast Damian, the 1999 Magarey medalist.
Damian Squire. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all from the Convention Centre here at Football Park. Thank you for your company. We'll leave you to debate the best player of the century. For now, if I may be so bold, it's probably a tie, but let's get on with saying goodnight. Thank you for your company. See you at the SANFL Finals.
He's a champion.